Okay, quick music disclaimer here. I do not own the rights to this music, which belongs to the rightful owner, who is the intoxicating mind of Dr. Frankenstein. So he made my intro and my outro, and I hope you guys enjoy. Check them out on Spotify and YouTube, and no copyright infringement is intended. Have a good day.
Clear choice of good versus evil, of right versus wrong.
Twisted Tales.
If you like paranormal, true crime, and some cryptids, or just anything weird, check out Ouch, Was That a Ghost? Brought to you by your host, Liz. You can find Ouch, Was That a Ghost on Spotify, Apple, or any audio platform. New episodes drop every Thursday.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
And we are live with the Josh and Tubbsy show. Josh and Twisty show, sorry.
Bow, bow, chicka chicka.
Bow, bow.
All right, welcome back to Twisted Tales, folks. So tonight's tale, we're gonna do a tale on Gary Plauche. Plauche? How the fuck do you say that?
Plauche.
Good.
I heard it pronounced in some of the podcasts. So.
Okay, thank you. All right. Edit. So tonight's tale, we're gonna do a tale on Gary Plauche. So I'll be joined up with my good friend Josh from the Jake and Josh show.
What
Say
up?
hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. Pretty
We're doing
groovy.
good. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we're actually gonna do a couple crazy cases together. Next week we're gonna do Killdozer. So I gotta work on that one. And then we're gonna do this one. So I thank you for giving me some good tales to tell here, buddy.
Thanks, you. I'm glad you're telling them.
Oh yeah, no, we have to, you know.
Yeah, this is a good one. I like the Gary Plauche story.
Yeah, man, I fucking had to get the notes together and stuff, so it works. I figured since you gave me the material and all that, it's only right that I, do the show with you, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, that's crazy. Any other podcaster in the world, if I was like, hey, here's an idea to use on their show, they wouldn't be like, oh yeah, dude, I'll write you up a whole story and have you on the podcast. So, but it is pretty cool.
You think Joe Rogan would have you on the podcast?
Nah, dude, and I've asked him, and I'm like, hey man, I'm short too, I'm bald too, and he's like, no.
I fight chimps.
Yeah, he doesn't even respond. He hates me.
Nah, he doesn't even look at the comments.
No, that's what he said. He can't read the comments. He's got the privilege of being famous to start, but so he doesn't have to read the comments and respond to his fans, Doucher. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Gary Plauche, I'll give you a little bit of detail on him here. So this dude ended up killing his son's karate instructor in a public airport as he was walking with police. So he was being jailed, and he had a court date for some upcoming charges here. Now those charges were sexual abuse and everything towards Gary's son Jody. Now Gary actually blasted him at close range and shot him in the head. And yeah, this was during a whole television fucking know.
And a lot of you has probably seen the video because it's circulating on social media every year for Gary Plauche Day, and It's, a Dad of the Year award. He's on some T-shirts. Like, dude, went viral for doing it in front of the TV cameras. So,
Yeah. So I mean, like, you think of all the bullshit like that he heard about what he did to his son and everything. Like, why wouldn't he fucking do that?
yeah, I don't think many people argue that he shouldn't have done it either. Like, some people are like, well, you should have let the law run its course, but then he would have got back out later and done it to more people.
Well, yeah, he would have fucking ruined other children's lives
Yeah,
and stuff.
because he said Jody wasn't the only kid he,
Found out about.
diddled. Yeah,
Exactly.
so he would have did it again.
Oh yeah. So I guess we'll start off at the beginning here. What do you think of this guy?
I think he's here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, fuck, if anybody fucked with any of my family or anything, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know until shit happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it still takes some balls to kill somebody, especially with the cops around and everything. That's got to be a scary moment. So.
Oh yeah, he didn't give a fuck, but I mean, like,
Yeah.
it was done and it was over with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, there are, like you said, like a lot of people that call him a hero and everything, right? And there's lots to say he was just a criminal for his act. I mean, this whole case is,
He was.
yeah, I mean, like, this whole case is just a bit touchy too, right?
Yeah. Technically, he's a criminal, but that's a testament to the fact that, the law isn't always what's right.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, I've done cases there where the law wasn't always right, you know?
Yeah.
But what do you do? All right, so Leon Gary Plauche. He was born November 10th, 1945, up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, United States. And the very same place that, like, Garth Brooks sang about, you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's always a plus side. But it's much more than that. It's actually the capital city of the U.S. state of Louisiana. It has a population of some 227,000 people, give or take a few. The place was founded back in the year 1699 and then became incorporated on January 16th of 1817.
I'm told shit.
Ah, yeah.
That's
Did you
great.
know that the city was actually named by French explorers as the Red Stick City?
Now, I didn't know that till I read it in the notes.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. The reason for this is because of a marked cypress pole seen by French explorer dude Pierre Lemoyne de Iberville way back in the year 1699. The pole was painted red and was believed to mark the boundary between the hunting grounds of the Houma and the Bayugula Native American tribes. I apologize if I butchered that. I do not speak that language.
What'd you think of those facts?
They were facts.
Yes, they were.
For sure.
Now, back to our friend Gary here. So, what we know about this fella, like I said, he killed a man, and this guy was named Jeffrey Doucette. So this fuckhead was a child molester who had kidnapped and raped Plauche's son, Joseph Boyce Jody Plauche. And Gary did this whole deed in a public airport as Jeffrey was being chauffeured to court for his crimes against his son. So, like Josh said, this whole thing was a public killing, or what some call a vigilante killing or vigilante justice.
I'd say both.
Yeah, definitely.
Public killing is just killing somebody in a publicized way. It doesn't really have to be vigilante. You could just be like making some other kind of point and have a victim. But then the vigilante killing is like, oh, I'm going to take justice into my own hands and I'm going to fucking kill this person because I don't think the justice system is going to do it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, there's a whole thin line between that, too. I mean, like, this dude knew a lot of cops and everything.
Yeah.
So, a public killing here refers to the killing of an individual in a way that is intended to be a public spectacle, often without due process and taking the law into your own hands. Now, they punish someone or do something to put a situation right. So, instead of them, like, waiting for the police or the legal system to take action, they take it upon themselves and they deal with the repercussions doing so. So, the airport that this happened at was Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport. It's also known as Ryan Field. It's a public airport located 4 miles or 7 kilometers north of the central business district of Baton Rouge. Now, the airport originally was called Harding Field during World War II, and it was used by the United States Army Air Force Technical Service Command as a maintenance and supply base. Other than like the runways and shit, there's actually no traces of the military installation. So let's dive into Gary's life here. Now, Gary was born to parents Charles Boyce Gonk Plauche Sr.
Gonk. Dude, that's a dope ass name. That's
Fucking
crazy.
right.
That's so out of pocket.
Oh, it's fucking wicked.
Rest in peace, Gonk.
Yes, sir.
Gary was born to parents Charles Boyce Gonk Plauche Sr., born March 12, 1913, up in Plaucheville, Aveilles Parish, Louisiana, USA. Unfortunately, he passed at 6:40 p.m. Wednesday, September 9th, 1987, at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center. He died at the age of 74 and is buried at Rest Haven Gardens of Memory and Mausoleum. Gary's dad was a retired Solvay employee. He spent a lot of time here. This is a Belgian-French multinational chemical company founded in 1863 with headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, founded by Ernest Solvay. Solvay manufactures a wide range of chemicals and plastics, including soda ash, hydrogen peroxide, and functional polymers. All that cool shit. Gary's mom was Annabelle Jeffries Plauche. She was born September 5th, 1916. She passed on December 28th, 1985, at the age of 69 in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana. She was buried at Rest Haven Gardens of Memory and Mausoleum, located at 11817 Jefferson Highway, a great cemetery that offers the option of private and public mausoleums. Gary attended Istruma Senior High School, located at 3730 Winborn Ave, Baton Rouge, a public school founded in 1917, and it has an enrollment of about 697 students these days, grades 9 through 12. He attended here from 1959 to 1963. In college, he went to Louisiana State University. The university was founded in 1860 near Pineville, Louisiana, under the name Louisiana State Seminary of Learning and Military Academy. Their colors are purple and gold. Here, he made friends, studied hard, and joined a fraternity, the Kappa Alpha, founded in 1865 at Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia. Kappa Alpha initially spread in the southern United States, but later added chapters elsewhere in the United States. Since its establishment in 1865, the order has initiated more than 150,000 students. Growing up, Gary had briefly served in the U.S. Air Force, USAF for short.
So, the Air Force defends the nation and its airspace against air threats in coordination with the Army and the Navy. Now, while Gary was here in the rank of Staff Sergeant. Now, this made him responsible for the proficiency, training, and administration of Marines in their charge. So, they usually lead a squad of 8 to 16 soldiers. They'll enforce standards and be responsible for developing, maintaining, and utilizing the full range of the soldier's potential. So, after leaving the Army, Plauche became a heavy equipment salesman. They typically work to sell construction and industrial equipment like excavators, loaders, and bulldozers to clients, or like other construction companies, mining operations, or landscaping business. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Now, over time, Gary met a woman named June Sheridan, who he then married and had 4 kids with. He had a daughter Sissy, Jennifer, Lori, and 3 sons. Gary Jr., or Bubba, as they called him, Joseph Boyce, also known as Jody, and Jeffrey Michael, also known as Michael. Now, Gary obviously was a hard-working man. He loved his children. He loved his fucking marriage and everything. And the family resided in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they led an otherwise ordinary life. Gary enjoyed fishing. I mean, who doesn't, right? Eh?
Hey.
And the whole, countryside up there, with the Louisiana waterways and stuff, they have a bunch of diverse species swimming around there. There's, trout, redfish, bass, perch, you name it, right? So there's, 70 rivers and a bunch of inshore waters and stuff. Redfish are actually the most challenging inshore targets, too, while trout are the ultimate inland catches, right? So, here's some fish facts. Glub. So, other than that, Gary loved to cook, he loved barbecuing, and he fucking loved football.
Nice.
He actually enjoyed the LSU Tigers, his football team, originally coached by a man named Charles E. Coates back in 1893. So this dickhead here was the first head coach of the LSU Tigers football team.
So this dude is basically a regular ass dude, but he also served in the military, which I feel like is not a regular ass thing to do, but a lot of people do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, be all you can be, right?
Be all that you can be. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, hell yeah. So this coach dude here played football at Johns Hopkins University and came to LSU in 1893, and he actually volunteered to organize and coach the school's first football squad. He actually lost the only game he ever coached, 34-0. And this was against a bunch of ex-players from Tulane Green Wave and some other Southern Athletic Club players. And Gary was also a big fan of the New Orleans Saints, another football team. This was established on November 1st of 1966, and their colors are old gold and black and white.
Very cool.
So if Gary wasn't home watching the game, he'd be at the Cotton Club having a few Miller Lights, bullshitting with his good friends. Now, speaking of good friends, he actually hung out and drank with some of the high-ranking police officers up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana Police Department. He knew all the bartenders at the Cotton Club, and he worked at Channel 2 in college. This is WBRZ-TV. So this station is owned by the Manship family, who formerly published the Baton Rouge daily newspaper at one point. This was called The Advocate. And Gary knew some of the ins and outs of the business here, and their very first air date was April 14th, 1955. It's actually becoming the second television station in Baton Rouge, signing on exactly 2 years after the CBS affiliate WAFB.
Very cool.
So, yes, so Gary hung out with guys from the station, and he knew a lot of them actually from coaching sports and stuff like that, and a couple nights at the bars and stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
the dude had some connections for being such a normal dude.
Oh yeah, man, he's fucking straight aces, man. So growing up with the family, the kids were also into sports. Gary coached them from time to time, and he just normal dude, man, just give the children the best lives that he could. Now his son Jody was always involved in sports. Jody was born on April 27th, 1972. And by the age of 5, he was the water boy for his older brother's Pee Wee football team. It's like a youth football team. And around the age of 6, he started playing organized tackle football. So, tackle football, this game has full contact gameplay where players attempt to stop the ball carrier by bringing them to the ground or preventing them from advancing, right?
As opposed to flag football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then, around 8 years old, he was into basketball, softball, and soccer. And he was actually playing state championship soccer by the time he was 9. So, very energetic kid. Now, by the time he was 10 years old, Jody, along with his two brothers and some friends, decided to join up in karate. So this was around the time of 1983, and the lessons were taught by a dude named Jeff Doucette, and he actually taught kids in the community. So
Jeff was an Aikido instructor or sensei, and this is one who guides students in the practice of Aikido. This is a Japanese martial art founded by a man named Morihei Ishiba. During classes, it's customary to address the instructor as sensei during practice, rather than by their given name. This means teacher. Aikido emphasizes self-discipline on physical, interpersonal, moral, and spiritual levels. Aikido techniques have origins in Kenjutsu, Japanese sword arts, and Jujutsu, joint locks and throws. Instructors demonstrate techniques and movements, and then students practice in pairs or small groups. Students learn both sides of the techniques, taking turns, initiating and defending. Instructors encourage students to develop their own interpretation of Aikido and to explore the art deeply. The right mindset, even more so than technical and physical proficiency, is critical when progressing through the ranks of Aikido. Instructors often lead the class in warm-up exercises called Aiki Taiso. A student must practice diligently several times a week for at least 4 to 5 years to obtain the first level of black belt. This was taught by Jeffrey Doucette. He was born February 3rd, 1959 in Port Arthur, Texas. This place is a cool city. In 1895, Arthur Stilwell founded Port Arthur, and the town quickly grew, being incorporated as a city in 1898. The city has the largest oil refinery in the U.S. They call this the Movita Refinery, one of the largest refineries in the world. They produce fuels like gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other products that are used by consumers throughout the world. The refinery began in 1903 on 25 acres of land, and they produced something like 850 barrels per day. Now the place is 1,400 acres and pumps out 720,000 barrels a day. They produce enough base oils to change the oil in 1.3 million cars on a daily basis. So they don't fuck around.
So yeah, obviously, they don't fuck around, do they, Josh?
They don't fuck around.
So back to Jeffrey Paul Doucette. By 1982, Doucette was working as a karate instructor, more specifically teaching Hapkido, Korean martial art, with some similarities to karate. So he was about 24 years old when he first met his pupil, Jody Plauche, in early 1983. Now, around this time, Gary and June Plauche separated in August 1983, and they were in the midst of a divorce. So Gary was drinking a little bit more. That went with the job and everything that he had, right? He traveled, he'd fucking sell heavy equipment. He'd meet clients, take them out for dinner and drinks, right? And even when, coaching sports and shit, right? A lot of parents would have coolers full of beer, this and that. So he'd spend, some time out at the bar and everything afterwards, but we've all done that. Now, Jody mentioned in, later articles and stuff that I read and, some online stuff that his dad was never mad when he was drinking. But sometimes, things just don't work out in relationships and shit, but that's okay. So, back to this fuckhead Jeff. So, he had no close friends or relationships. He was kind of like a loner type dude, if you will. The karate school was his only source of income, minus when he worked with his brother. So, I'll give you some details on his family. He was born July 29th, 1921, up in Acadia Parish, Louisiana, USA. And his father was a service station owner, so a gas station or what have you. And he died on September 3rd, 1976, at the age of 55, up in Jefferson County, Texas, USA. And he was buried up in a Big Woods Cemetery, Edgerly, Calcasia Parish, Louisiana, USA. Doucette's mother was Elia Corville Doucette, She was born March 24th, 1930, up in Vinton, Caucasia Parish, Louisiana, USA. And Mrs. Doucette was a native of Vinton, Louisiana, and a resident of Gonzales, Louisiana. Now, her mother then continued to live in Port Arthur here, as a tiny city near the Texas-Louisiana border. She died at 7:29 p.m. on Friday, June 6, 2014, at Gonzales Healthcare Center, and she was 84 years old, and she was laid to rest in Church's Cemetery. During their life, the couple had 4 children. Haywood Anthony Sam Doucette Jr. from 1947, and 2003 he passed. Kathleen Mary Doucette, born 1948, died in 51. So,
Whoa. So that's
not a long,
3 years.
yeah, not a long life. That sucks.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
There's Michael Mike Doucette, born 1953 to 2019. And fucking Jeff Doucette, born 1959, passed. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we already talked about him getting shot in the head. Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 1984.
Yes, he's dead. Thank you. So during these karate classes, Jody fought pretty well, and the team would do awesome in tournaments. So Jody was like a 5th grader at this time, very young, innocent, and good in sports. And it was around this time that Doucette would begin what they call grooming him, and his family actually, because, he kind of played both sides kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then he began sexually assaulting young Jody by pushing his boundaries until it became full-blown rape. Ugh. Now, Doucette's abuse of Jody started one day when he asked his young athletes, who wants to learn how to drive, right? And oh, cool, man, this dude's got a car and shit, right? Let's fucking go with this guy. And obviously, in pure fucking excitement, Jody's hand just shot up, right? And the next thing you know, he was sitting on Doucette's lap steering a 280Z. And I'll give you some info on the car here. That's the Datsun 280Z, the sports car produced by Nissan. So it was sold in the United States and Canada, whoop whoop, for the 1975 to 1978 model years. Featured a 2.8 incline-6 engine with Bosch fuel injection, replacing the previous SU carburetors, larger displacement than the 240Z and the 260Z, and it produced 170 horsepower. Boom. So, on this little car drive here, this was where Jeff first started to test his boundaries like we talked about, right? So he would begin touching around his laps, and then, oops, I went into your private area, right?
Yeah.
But then, I found some articles and stuff where Jody talked about this. He said, quote, "But then his hands were in my lap, and I was 10 at the time. So I'm thinking, what's going on here, right? Maybe it's an accident." So I didn't say anything. I mean, to Jody, the tall, bearded fucking Doucette was this guy's best friend, right? And Doucette would send the other kids in the class out for food. He would have Jody stay behind, touch him off and on, see how far he could get, right? And then he'd take him out to movies and stuff. So he'd do this and then reward him and shit. Yeah. Eventually they would stay out a little bit later each time just to see how much time he could spend with him before Jody's parents got worried. Shit like that, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, man. And Jody knew this was wrong, but I mean, he was friends with Jeff. Besides all the awkward shit, like I said, he'd make it up by taking him cool spots like the movies or arcades and places like that.
Doucette ingratiated himself with the parents of his karate students. He was frequently invited to family dinners, game nights, and other events. He often spent the night in the homes of his students, sleeping on the couch. The parents viewed him as a kind of big brother to the boys he taught karate to, if they only knew the truth. Doucette would often spend Saturday nights at the Plauches, eating dinner and playing rounds of Pictionary or Trivial Pursuit. He also didn't have a car, so he relied on the kindness of his karate students' parents to drive him from place to place, or they'd let him borrow their wheels from time to time. Jeff Duchette was an experienced groomer. He groomed both his victims and their families. Grooming is the action or behavior used to establish an emotional connection with a vulnerable person, generally a minor under the age of consent, and sometimes the victim's family, to lower their inhibitions with the objective of sexual abuse. It can occur in various settings, including online, in person, and through other means of communication. Children who are groomed may experience mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, and suicidal thoughts, but not in all cases, as some overcome these experiences with age. So typically how the molester does these things with children is they'll manipulate them with attention, kindness, gifts, alcohol, drugs, money, and other privileges. Jeff did some of these things, but most importantly, he used his charm and his down-on-his-luck situation to his advantage. Fucking cunt.
Fucking.
So,
Oh, look at me. I'm down on my luck. Let me molest children.
I'm down on my luck. Can you help me out? Yeah. People that prey on kindness are the worst type of people in the world. You know,
Fucking
and people
scum.
that prey on children, obviously, but
Well, yeah.
but in general, people that prey on kindness, you know, they're fucking scumbags. So we talked about how prior to Jody starting karate instruction, he had been heavily involved in many different sports. After taking karate for a few months, Jeff began pressuring Jody to drop all other sports so that he would have more time to concentrate on karate. During lessons, Duchette would stop practice and send the rest of the kids to 7-Eleven for snacks. Not you, Jody, he'd say. I need to do some extra work with you. And he'd shepherd him into his back room. Which is, you know, obviously fucked up. No kid should ever be left alone with an older man. And there's a certain kind of sick manipulation that pedophile coaches use. Jody, after a few months, started to come up with all these different kinds of excuses why he didn't want to go to karate practice. One of Jody's brothers stopped going altogether at one point. Not sure what happened there, but he dipped out of that class, along with a few other students at some point later on. Even when Jody didn't want to go, Duchette would show up at the house anyway and drag him off. Jody's mom let him go because she thought coaches knew best. They didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. And now, since Duchette was in good with the parents and knew that Jody wouldn't tell them about the inappropriate touching, he would take Jody to karate tournaments and stuff. Sometimes he wouldn't be alone with him. Gary accompanied them once or twice. When he had Jody all alone, Jeff began fondling Jody inappropriately, as well as sleeping with him during karate trips, telling Jody that he was going to give him head and other gross things, and would disappear under Jody's blanket. Afterward, the pair returned home like nothing had happened. And by now, Jeff began spending more and more time with Jody and the family, either at Jody's or over at Gary's. So Jody couldn't break free of this fuckhead. The guy became something of an authoritative father-like figure, using karate to give this authority type figure, like a good coach or something. He later escalated to raping Jody, after which he would sexually assault him almost every day, sometimes twice a day, in the following months. He started small by testing his boundaries, gaining trust of both Jody and his parents, and then became the monster he always was. And now, knowing how far he could push his boundaries with the family and Jody, the horrific abuse went on. June Plauche didn't doubt Jeff Duchette. She had no reason to. He instructed 3 of their 4 children in karate and was trusted in the community. Duchette enjoyed spending time with the boys, and they enjoyed spending time with him.
Like, nobody would think of that, right? It's like, okay, well, this dude's like a fucking karate teacher, right? Like, he's doing some good, he's giving the kids discipline and whatnot, right?
Yeah, and you should always think of that. If someone wants to be around your kids more than you do, you should always be wary of that person. And that's what Jody himself said on one of the podcasts I was watching.
Yeah, man. Even after Gary moved out, like, Doucette actually swooped in to kind of, like, fill the whole vacant role of, like, the family member, right? Like, oh, like, you know, I'm fucking higher up and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just spent more time with the children and became like this whole emotional support person to June. Like even like Jody said there, like he's all of our best friend. He actually told that to his school newspaper at one time. And then months of rape began happening. It was only like 15 to 20 minutes a day, I think he said in one of the podcasts there, but I mean, I don't know, Doucette was just weird. Like he'd also like he'd rape him and everything, and then he'd just do something nice for Jody as a reward. And he actually began to focus a lot more on Jody at these times as well. And Jeff would just do weird shit at warm-ups. Like, Doucette's whole fucking angle was to just victimize Jody. Telling Jody, like, hey man, we need to stretch, and he'd be touching him, like, around his legs, grabbing at his private area. And, like, he did this often to Jody, especially at the beginning, when he would test his boundaries and stuff, right? But, I mean, later on, Doucette and Jody, like, I guess they just both got comfortable to it, right? And he would be telling him, like, all the sexual acts that he was going to perform on him later and stuff. Doucette there at one time asked Jody, like, if he told his parents about what went on between them. And Jody just played dumb about it, right? Like, what are you talking about? And then Doucette knew right then and there that he pretty much owned Jody. Now, like I said, like when his parents broke up or anything, right? Or divorced, I should say, they didn't know, like, about Jody and the other children, like how they would take it, right? And that's like another main reason why he took karate, just to keep his mind occupied. Plus, like, you know, the other sports that he was into before Doucette made him quit. I mean, like I said, sometimes parents just fucking don't end up together forever. I mean, you know, they don't get along. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, man. So say if, like, Jody would go to his dad's or something like that, or, like, out with friends and stuff, Doucette would just get pissed. Doucette would say, like, oh, you love him more than me, and you want to hang out with, like, different people more than me and shit. Just really fuck with his head mentally, right? So later on, Jody mentioned in an interview that he watched a show with his parents called Fallen Angel. So his parents did warn him that there were people out there that would take advantage of children, and if it ever happened to him, to make sure and tell them. But Jody never did. He knew that if his dad found out, like, he just straight up fucking killed Doucette. How'd that work out?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that Jody didn't want to happen, so he just kept his mouth shut, right? And some of the reasons that Jody kept quiet was because the whole, like, male-on-male thing, right? Like, if he said anything, he knew his dad would take action. Because, I mean, the whole male-on-male thing was just different times, right?
Oh.
He must have been so confused, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, at one point, Doucette had rewarded the fighting team that would compete in tournaments here. This was around New Orleans and Houston. He invited everyone out to Astro World. So, little detail on Astro World here. This was a park that opened up on June 1st, 1968. Originally owned by the Huff Hines family, who later sold Astro World to Six Flags in 1978. And the family ran it for a 10-year period. It was seasonally operated up in Houston. This park was situated between Kirby Drive and Fannin Street, directly south of I-610.
Have you ever been there?
No, not at all.
Me either.
Sounds fun.
Yeah,
Like,
amusement parks are great.
Like, where are you going? Astro World. Fuck yeah.
Astro fucking World, buddy. Sounds way cool. Six Flags.
Yeah. So notable rides featured at the park were like the Texas Cyclone. This is a wooden roller coaster built in 1976. It's actually modeled after the well-known Coney Island Cyclone. Get that, didn't you? And there was Thunder River. This was considered the world's first successful river rapids ride when it opened in 1980. Following declining revenue, rising property value, and other issues facing Six Flags, the company closed Astro World permanently after its final day of operations on October 30th, 2005, and the final night of Fright Fest. And many rides were sold at auction or relocated to other Six Flags properties, and then the whole thing was demolished of the remaining structures, and that was completed by mid-2006. Alright, So we're done with the rides here. Now,
Oh,
as the
crazy.
rape and other bullshit continued, Jeff was just telling Jody that he loved him, and what they were doing was very special. Even though Jody didn't like what he was doing to him one bit, he knew it was wrong for him to be doing this, but this is just how life went for a bit. Until Doucette was running low on funds. He ended up doing some shady deals to get by, but there was one deal that he couldn't get fucking out of, right? He was actually passing around a couple bad checks here and shit. A couple times he nabbed checks from Jody's parents and had Jody forge his mom's signature. He'd tell him, like, no, I'm not doing that, right? These signatures are fucking terrible and all this, right? But Jody would actually just rewrite the name, right? But in doing that, he actually signed a bunch of other checks for Doucette to now use. So, like I said, this guy's a crafty prick. But after a while, some of Jeff's shady money deals were just catching up to him. He wasn't making much money with the karate gig and spent time with kids at the dojo, which a lot of people thought was weird. And even though he was going broke, he still put on karate classes and would make everyone do warm-ups before classes and shit. But I mean, he was making a little bit of money to get by, but not enough. Now, Doucette had actually conned a guy named Don Landers. Jeff
Remember
actually
that.
wanted to sell bandanas. He called them tiger rags. And the guy gave him like 15 grand towards it.
Fucking burnt
So,
him. Burnt him on it, dude.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, Doucette then stole the 15,000 from that dude. Didn't use it for the fucking tiger rags. He
What
kept
a-
the money and he fucked the guy over.
What a fucking piece of shit.
Yes, sir. Jody's dad actually introduced Jeff to the guy here because he thought Jeff was a decent fella. Now, the fella he fucked over,
Actually owned a bunch of local Cracker Barrel convenience stores. It's Cracker Barrel's like no, dude, a Cracker Barrel is a fucking a
restaurant
Cracker
too.
Barrel's a restaurant. Oh, there's convenience stores too? What? Did you know the guy he fucked over owned a bunch of local Cracker Barrel convenience stores? Almost like a 7-Eleven or Circle K type deal?
I did not.
Do you guys have Circle Ks and 7-Elevens?
I got Circle K.
Oh, shit, we got Circle K in Arizona, too.
It's awesome. Yeah, so this dude had like 37 stores around the Baton Rouge area, and he was actually going to carry them exclusively and buy them from Jeff and sell them at his store franchises, right? So, wheel and deal type thing. But, unfortunately, Jeff never delivered on the order of bandanas, and he couldn't come up with the money, so he tried avoiding this guy like the fucking bubonic plague.
Yeah,
Bubonic.
makes sense.
Makes dollars, but he didn't make dollars. So, a bit about the store Cracker Barrel here. It was founded back in 1968 when Frank Sadler and Don Landers opened up a convenience store at Millerville Road, an old Hammond Highway in Baton Rouge. The chain was a leader in forming partnerships with the fast food brands such as like Church's and Blimpie. I have no idea what those are.
I've never been to a Cracker Barrel, Church's, or Blimpie.
Really? You don't know what they are either.
I know what they are, but I haven't been to them. Church's is
Okay.
a fried chicken place. I think Blimpie's a sandwich place, but I'm not sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, did you know that the term Cracker Barrel originated in the 19th century? Well, the late 19th century.
That's pretty early.
Late. Now,
Well, it's late in the 19th century, but it's early in the timeline of like, I wasn't born yet.
well, that's right. Neither was I. So, I mean, what
Yeah.
do you do?
Yeah. I don't
Now,
know.
American...
1800s.
Huh?
I don't know anybody from the 1800s.
No. So, these were like American country stores back in the late 19th century. They stocked barrels of soda crackers, which customers would often gather around to chat and socialize, kind of like a fucking water cooler type shit, right? Like, oh, let's go hang out by the Cracker Barrel, man.
Yeah, that's like the loitering place, like Walmart.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, because this guy owed money, it financially went to a civil trial in Louisiana, and, since he was avoiding paying it back and all that. Because of this, Doucette was making plans to flee Baton Rouge with Jody because he didn't have the money to cover it. Now, he asked the 11-year-old if he wanted to go to California sometime soon. Plauche said, yeah, man, whatever, we'll go. And Doucette then put his plan to kidnap Jody into action. But I mean, this was unbeknownst to Jody, right? It was just a fucking trip that he thought he was going on, right? But this would happen soon enough. So he told Jody about the trip, and Jody didn't know, like, all of what was going to happen to him, right? So the whole thing shook down on February 19th, 1984. Doucette's brother actually dropped Jeff off at Jody's home and asked Jody's mother if he could borrow the family car. Must be nice, eh? Like, hey, man, I got no wheels. Can I borrow your shit?
Can I borrow your shit and kidnap your kid?
Yeah. But I mean, like, she thought he was nice and everything, right? So, I mean, fuck, she had no alarms going up or whatever, right?
That's insane.
So his brother just rushed off to the home, one of Doucette's other karate students here, because the parents were actually in process of doing, like, this whole renovations for, like, the new home and stuff, and they needed carpet installed. So he used this as an excuse. Now, his brother owned a carpet company here, so things checked out. Wasn't a big deal. And the two hung out, like, many times prior to this, right? And, like, he fucking helped him out with, like, laying down carpet and stuff. So his mother gave the okay. Jody's mother told Doucette to take the car as long as Jody was brought back to her by the end of the day. She warned them both not to stay out too long, and, you know, he didn't have Jody working too hard installing carpet and stuff, right? So he tricked her by saying he was going to help his brother out, do some chores and stuff, right? Needed the extra hand to get the job done quicker. So in turn, he drove Jody to his brother's home in Gonzales, Louisiana. It's about 24 miles southeast of the state's capital, Baton Rouge, where he grabbed some things before driving to his mother's home in Port Arthur, Texas. Now the next day they drove to Doucette's uncle's place up in Vinton, Louisiana. And this is just across the river, mind you. So they borrowed some money for bus tickets here, telling Doucette's mother, who was concerned about Jody, that they would be dropping him off in Baton Rouge, as Doucette made his way to New York City here. He was like, oh, I'm just going over there to kind of get sidetracked and stuff. And, yeah, Baton Rouge would, after all, be along the way in all this, right? So it kind of made sense to her. So instead, the pair caught a bus from another Texas-Louisiana border town called Orange. And then they went all the way to Los Angeles, California. So along the way, Doucette actually shaved off his beard. He actually dyed Jody's hair completely black, so they wouldn't draw any attention to themselves, knowing by now that the law would be keeping an eye out for him, right? Because fucking the parents knew something was up.
That's wild. You see a little kid with his hair just dyed totally black, and you're like, oh, that's normal.
Yeah, man, you know, this dude's got no beard, and now he looks like more of a pedophile.
Yeah, sometimes they got beards, sometimes they don't. So once they arrived, they did some sightseeing. They went to Disneyland, which is a wonderful theme park up in Anaheim, California. You ever been to Disneyland?
No, I've been to Disney World in Florida.
I've never been to either.
Disneyland's boss.
Yeah? Alright. So anyway, back in the 1980s, there was a huge fucking shift in pop culture at the park. Audiences were increasingly drawn to space adventures and technology. New attractions like Star Wars attractions and the Space Mountain ride were the big go-to back then. After all the excitement, they eventually booked a hotel room, just a short walk away from Disneyland in Anaheim a few days later. While here, he proceeded to molest and rape Jody Plauche to no end. But there were a few times that Jody noticed he wasn't as focused on him like he normally was. Doucette was going broke and couldn't come up with any more money. So he was mostly occupied with money situations and was thinking of ways to make more bank. The room they got was number 38 at the Samoa Motel, 425 West Catella Avenue, Anaheim, California. Now called America's Best Value Inn. Since the two didn't return, she called family members and all of Jody's friends. No one had seen her son. June couldn't contain herself and knew that something was seriously wrong and notified the authorities. Jeff never left this long with her kid before. And so the police were now on the horn, calling around, out on patrols and looking for the ex-Marine and karate instructor, Jeff Duche. The Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office knew that tracing Jeff Duche was the key to finding Jody. They checked with Duche's family members, including his mother in Texas. This is when she confirmed that her son and Jody had been to her home. The FBI was called in as Duche had taken Jody across state lines, making this as a federal crime. Authorities tried to retrace Duche's steps, but could only do that to a certain point before the trail went cold. Jody was now the focus of a nationwide search. Jody went missing for a period of 10 days until Duche finally let him call his mom, collect, and speak to his parents. Not sure why he did this. Maybe he was defeated as he couldn't conjure up any more cash flow. And so he was like, fuck it. Call your mom, kid. Upon calling his mom, who do you think would be totally pissed about the ordeal? She kept her cool, spoke with both Jeff and her son. She talked mom stuff to him. This was so she could keep up with tracing the call, totally unbeknownst to Jeff. The family traced the call by keeping him on the line and talking to Jody. She'd ask him if he had a coat on and if he was looked after. She kept him on the line. The deputy sprang into action, demanding that the telephone operator give him the location that the call had originated from. They gave them the Anaheim motel address, and Anaheim police were contacted and moved in. I believe they were still on the phone when the police raided the room. So California police raided the motel and arrested Duchette on February 29th without incident. Upon search of the hotel room, which was like an $85 a night hotel, police found a wash rag full of dye. Duchette tried to dye his hair brown by this point. They took that for evidence. And the reason Jeff had chosen California to fuck off to is because he was familiar with the place back in the day. He had been in the Marine Corps and his brother had lived down in Simi Valley, and he wanted to go live in Canoga Park. But they ended up in Anaheim. And finally, the police took Jody to the police station. They questioned him. Then he left the police station. He went to the hospital where they did a rape kit on him. And from the hospital, he went to Albert Sutton Home for like abused and neglected kids. And he stayed the day there and then flew out at 1 or 1:15 a.m. of March 1st, 1984. He flew from Los Angeles International Airport to the New Orleans airport, and the family was reunited. The whole thing made national headlines. So when interviewed afterwards, a news reporter asked Gary, in your position as a parent, did you learn anything from this? Gary replied, just how much I love my children. I might be a little bit protective or overprotective. I don't know. Jody, at the time of his return and back with his parents, wasn't feeling himself. Obviously, from all the shit he's been through by that predator fuck, he was in no mood for flashing cameras and interviews. He had his hands in his pockets, didn't hug his mom or dad, and was totally downtrodden, not to mention a bit shocked by it all. Especially since one time he viewed him as a friend and invited him into his home, fed him, and gave him clothes to wear. After all the press interviews and all that, Jody was brought to the station. I questioned Jody for like 3 hours, and he denied everything about being sexually assaulted. But in the back of his head, he knew that he had gone to the hospital in California and knew that there was going to be evidence that Jeff had sexually abused him, so he wasn't going to admit it until that came back the way Jeff could never say it told on him. So he didn't come back and start giving him shit for ratting on him, and just in case he wanted revenge. So Jody denied everything, but it wasn't until a week before Jeff came home that the results of the rape kit came back. Mike Barnett, Gary's cop buddy, sat down with his mother and dad and told them that, spermatozoa were found on the rectal slide, and that's when Gary found out. So he had some time to brew and bubble over it. According to Barnett, Gary had the same reaction most parents do when they find out their children have been raped or molested. He was horrified. Gary Plauche told Barnett, I'll kill that son of a bitch. And he wasn't fucking around. Usually people say that, they're not, they're lying, you know, but Gary was not lying. Duchette would be extradited back to Baton Rouge. Jeff would come back March 16th. He was arrested and was sent back 2 weeks after Jody to be charged for his kidnapping crimes. He's accused of repeatedly molesting an 11-year-old boy, Jody Plauche, then kidnapping him to Disneyland. A rape kit proved he sodomized him more there. On the plane ride home, Duchette broke down, crying and opening up to the police about his other rape victims, saying that he was, by his own admission, sexually molested as a child. And later on, he began molesting children himself to the point that he could not remember the exact number of boys he victimized. So there were more than Jody. He said that he once had a sexual molestation charge, although it was erased from the records. At some point in his life, he relocated to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he became a karate instructor, and then this happened. Duchette and police had hopped aboard an airplane returning him from Anaheim, California, back to Baton Rouge. This was on March 16th, 1984. Now, with all that horrific shit that Duchette did to his son and thoughts going a mile a minute, which I'm sure unraveled his brain quite good, nobody needs to know that shit, you know, but when they know, they can't push it away, and you're gonna dwell on that shit. Gary felt a sense of helplessness and did not know how to deal with the situation. He felt he wasn't there for his son, but there's bad people in this world. His son's kidnapping put him in a psychotic state, and it got to the point that he was unable to tell right from wrong. After hearing those things and trying to comprehend it all, Gary's mental balance seemed to begin to crumble. Dealing with what happened was a lot harder for Gary than it had been for Jody. Plauche remained on the edge. I mean, Gary was obviously relieved to have his son back, but he had little faith in the justice system to punish the boy's kidnapper. He spent the next few days inside a local bar, this is the Cotton Club, asking people when they thought Duchette might be brought back to Baton Rouge for trial. A former colleague from WBRZ News, this was an affiliate of ABC, who happened to be out for a drink, told Gary Plauche that Jeff Duchette would be flown in on March 16th via American Airlines Flight 595 at Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport. Gary also knew a lot of the higher-ups in the Baton Rouge Police Department as well. He had some friends and contacts that some folk also believed that's where he had gotten this info. And the local ABC means the American Broadcasting Company, founded May 15, 1943 by Edward J. Noble. It started the radio news October 12, 1943, and then television on April 19, 1948, and are still around today. Back to it. Gary Plauche then drove to Ryan Airport in Baton Rouge. He entered the arrivals hall wearing a baseball cap and a pair of sunglasses. Plauche waited for Duchette to be escorted back. He hid his face as he went in because media outlets and police were awaiting Duchette. Gary walked over to a payphone and made a call, trying to be inconspicuous about things. So as he made a quick call, a WBRZ news crew were getting their cameras ready to record the caravan of cops that were escorting Jeff Duchette out of his plane. Once the plane landed, the news crew began taping the scene, and Duchette and some other officers hopped off the plane and into the terminal. Duchette was shackled and in police custody. They walked a bit, and when they passed by the payphone area as Gary was facing the wall, talking on one of the phones to his best friend, Jimmy, "Here he comes," Gary whispered. "You're about to hear a shot." He pulled a .38 snub-nosed revolver from his right boot, took careful aim, spun around, and fired a hollow-point bullet into Duchette's brain from 3 feet away. Then he lowered the gun, turned around, and hung up the phone, and TV camera caught it all. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, fuck man, especially doing that from like 3 feet away, right? Like that's fucking gotta have some impact.
It's the only good part of this fucking story so far, you know?
Yeah, no, it's just full of fucking disgusting things.
There you go, guys. That's what you came for. He blasted that fucking pedo. He blasted that fucking pedo away, buddy.
Oh, fuck yeah. So, the bullets that he used were hollow point, like Josh said here. So hollow point bullets offer like several advantages, particularly for self-defense and hunting and shit. Now it's due to their expansion upon impact. Like this expansion leads to a larger wound channel, increased by energy transfer and reduced over penetration. So this will do some damage. So, bam. So hollow points with their larger meplat, meaning like flat nose, can offer better accuracy in target shooting compared to pointed bullets. But, you're not shooting targets. This guy was shooting pedophiles.
Hell yeah.
Now, oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, gunshot wounds from hollow point bullets can be very painful. Due to this, they have been banned from, use back in, wartime and stuff, even going forward, right? And they may leave fragments difficult to remove from, living tissue and shit. And the gun that Gary used was a snub-nosed revolver, also known as Snubby, belly gun, or the Bulldog revolver. Rough.
Woof.
So this is a small, medium, or large frame revolver with a short barrel, generally less than 3 inches in length. So snub-nosed revolvers were popular back in the United States until the 1950s and 60s here, when many states passed laws limiting or prohibiting the carrying of concealed weapons. Now, the first commercial snub-nosed revolver was a 6-shot, 3-inch, 76mm barreled Colt single-action army revolver made without an ejector rod. Ejector rod. It was officially called the Sheriff's Model, or the Stonekeeper's Model, or unofficially known as the Banker's Special. Yeah, whatever, 38 Special, Also fucking good band. Good times. After the shot went off, officers rushed in directly, and they saw Doucette fall to the ground. Police then grabbed a hold of Gary here, because they recognized him, and they kept him pinned against the bank of telephones. And Buddy, grabbed him. Why, Gary? Why? Why the fuck do you think? So Gary's reply back was, if somebody did it to your kid, you'd do it too. Fuck. Famous last words, right?
Yeah. Obviously. That's the reason why.
Yeah, there's your fucking reason. Now, upon being arrested, Doucette was loaded up and taken to the nearest hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries and died the next day. Flatline. Now, as for Gary, he was charged originally with second-degree murder, and the case seemed to be, pretty straightforward and shit, right, since it was caught on the video cameras and shit. But once news got out about the shooting, people called the police station and fucking lost their shit, telling them to let Gary go. People thought that he served justice to Doucette for the horrific things that he put his kid through, and also his family.
Hell yeah.
Well, tons of people across the nation were on this guy's side, right?
Of course.
Well, almost everybody. His son Jody was actually pissed at him for killing Jeff. He didn't want him dead. What's that?
So that's weird, Jody.
Yeah. But Jody later said, he didn't want him dead for what he put him through. He just wanted him to be locked up in jail for his crimes.
Yeah.
So obviously, that put a fucking wrench in the relationship between, father and son going forward, right?
Yeah. And so a ton of folks thought that Jody's dad stood up for justice. This guy probably wouldn't have been locked up long, or probably would have harmed more kids, because that's what a child molester typically does. And if caught, their crimes stir up wicked strong emotional reactions from the public. Even the night the shooting happened at the Plauche residence, Gary's wife, June, was just coming home and turned on the news. An unidentified man had shot Jeff Doucette in the airport, the news anchor said. June's knees buckled. She fell backward onto the carpet. When June saw Gary that night in lockup, the first thing she said was, "You're going to hell for this. You know that, right?" "I know," Gary said. "Hell? Maybe. Jail? No." Jeff Doucette died Saturday, March 17, 1984, at Earl K. Long Memorial Hospital. He was 25. He was buried up in Big Woods Cemetery in Edgarly Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, USA. In case you want to go take a piss on his grave or something. And the charges against Gary were upgraded to full-blown second-degree murder. Plauche was originally indicted on a charge of second-degree murder, but bargained with prosecutors to plead no contest to the reduced charge of manslaughter, which carried a maximum sentence of 21 years in prison. Then the court started. 2 psychological reports to the court included detailed accounts given by both Plauche and his son.
Now, Dr. James L. Brabham reported that the son described how Doucette, the youth's martial arts instructor, had sexually abused him for months prior to the shooting, telling him, real men don't need women. And fucking gross.
Weird.
Child molesters are mostly males from difficult family backgrounds, right? So they have a range of behavioral problems as both children and adults. And these guys are more likely to exhibit disruptive behavior, substance abuse, aggression, poor social skills, depression, and dysfunctional intimate relationships. But this guy didn't have a lot of intimate relationships with women or anything, right?
Yeah.
And the whole development factor, that mostly actually strongly differentiates child molesters from non-sexual offenders is a history of being sexually victimized during childhood.
Although a history of abuse is associated with a large increase in the relative risk of becoming a sexual abuser, most victims of child sexual abuse do not become abusers, and most abusers were not abused themselves.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, I didn't know that until a little while ago, and I read into it, and I was like, oh, that's nuts. I thought it was, most abusers were abused themselves. But, yeah, no. So, Dr. Edward P. Uzi examined the father and concluded that Plauche could not tell the difference between right and wrong when he shot Touche. And I don't think that's really what it was, is that he knew what was right and he went and fucking did it. So he said Plauche developed a sense of righteous mission directed by what Gary sensed as the voice of Jesus telling him that if he did not kill his son's sexual molester, that the man would continue to harm his son and other children. I bet that didn't happen, but it was a good defense. Good job. Fuck, sometimes you got a lot of the courts. They said Gary wasn't in his right state of mind at the time of the killing. So, I mean, and maybe it did happen, whatever. But either way, it's a good thing to do. Gary said he didn't want Jeff to do this to other kids. He also said it was the voice of God that told him to pull the trigger. So that's a good reason.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Some of the citizens of Baton Rouge didn't agree. If you asked them, they'd say that Plauche was in his right mind when killing Doucette. He was. It was his right mind. He was in the rightest mind probably he's ever been in. According to one of these locals, a riverboat captain named Murray Curry. Cool name, Murray. Is that real? Is he making shit up and throwing it in here? Riverboat Captain Curry. All right. Plauche was anything but a killer. He's a father who done it out of love for his child and for his pride. Like other neighbors, Curry donated a bit of money to a defense fund set up to help Plauche pay back his $100,000 bail and keep his family afloat while fighting the trial. The degree to which public opinion swayed in Gary Plauche's favor was overwhelming, so much so that when sentencing time came around, the judge decided against sending Plauche to jail. Doing so, he had said, would have been counterproductive. He felt certain that Plauche didn't intend to harm anyone except the already dead Jeff Doucette and the next guy that tries to fuck with his kids, but over the judge don't give a fuck either. He's like, oh, good job, brother. And over the duration of court, it was adamant that Gary Plauche would not spend a single day locked up once the world learned how carefully Jeff Doucette had gone about grooming Jody Plauche. Sanders also argued Jody's kidnapping had pushed his father into a psychotic state in which he was no longer capable of distinguishing right from wrong. Duchette was a preferential child molester of the so-called seduction type. Such offenders court their victims with gifts and or attention, slowly winning their trust and lowering their inhibitions. They exploit the authority deriving from their professions and status as adults and are very good at communicating with children as well as at choosing victims who will be more susceptible to their ploys, e.g. children who receive little affection at home. Plauche was released from a hospital where he had been under a psychiatrist's care since he was freed from jail March 19th on a $100,000 property bond posted by his friends. On Monday, he released a statement of apology to Duchette's family through his defense attorney. All in all, Gary Plauche got 7 years on a suspended sentence, 5 years probation, and 300 hours of community service, which he did at his local church, mostly cutting the grass. The judge said he was no threat to the community. Gary never served a day in prison. Gary completed a sentence in 1989. Plauche was already back to living in a relatively normal life, like under the radar. The lenient treatment Gary received divided public opinion and was criticized, among others. Duchette's brother, Roland, he felt justice wasn't served. My brother, what a fucking dude, just admit it, dude, it was a good thing. The Duchette family feels that Mr. Plauche may show sincerity of his apology by pleading guilty to the crime he was charged with, second-degree murder, and accepting a prison sentence and paying his debt to society. While he said, people are all about revenge. Isn't that nuts?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, think about it, man. His brother Roland knows everything that he fucking did to that kid, and he's like, oh, I killed my brother. I'll never see my brother again. Like, dude, your brother was a piece of shit.
And they're all about revenge. They're like, no, you have to rot in a cage now. You know?
No, even the judge was like, nah, man, you good.
Yeah, everybody along the way was like, you're good, man. It's all good.
Murray Curry fucking gave him like $100,000 hereby.
There were only a couple idiots out there that didn't understand it was a good thing.
That's correct.
Probably all pedos themselves.
Fuck. We're gonna get canceled.
Nah, bye. It's all good. We can say stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Sanders said Plauche had received hundreds of telephone calls and some donations of money from supporters. And like Josh said, the case received like tons of worldwide publicity, mostly because people questioned whether Plauche should be charged with murder or be let off. Plauche claimed to believe, until his death, that he was in the right, and those in a similar position would have done the same fucking thing. And obviously that's $1 million question, right? Like, I mean, if that was your kid, right? Like, what action would you take, you know? Fuck, man. I couldn't even imagine, like, all the fucking horrible things that Jody went through, man. I mean, even at a young age, dude. Like, fuck.
And he found the spot where he could do it, you know? He's like, I can definitely do it here. He's like, oh, look, the news is standing right there. That's a spot where he's definitely going to walk by, because why else would the news be standing right there? So I'm going to do it right here. And, you know, for the live television, that's great. He sent out a message at the same time. I feel like, all in all, his whole thing, his whole gig was a fucking like, A+ performance, you know?
Well, exactly, right? Fucking Siskel and Ebert give it 2 thumbs up. Now, Jody, seeing the footage and everything here, he actually still remembers the footage of his father gunning down the pedophile who had abused him. And he actually first saw it during the 6 p.m. news. Something that he was, like, told not to do, right? Like, don't look at the paper or whatever. And, you know, he thought was kind of like, wasn't real. He then became obsessed with the footage and then watched it over and over. Now, he was first told what happened by his mom, actually, here. That was the following morning. He was at his grandparents' house. So she said, last night, Daddy shot Jeff. Then he burst into tears. He felt mad that his father had killed Doucette. And he didn't agree with, like, people who thought his dad was a fucking hero or, like, you know, for his act of vigilante justice. And later on, like, later interviews and shit there, he said, quote, I think for a lot of people,
who have not been satisfied by the American justice system, my dad stands as a symbol of justice. My dad did what everybody says what they would do, yet only a few have done it. Plus, he didn't go to jail. He said, I understand why he did what he did, but it is more important for a parent to be there to help support their child than put themselves in a place to be prosecuted. And over time, Jody and his father actually rekindled their relationship, and they got on like nothing happened. It actually took a few months before things got back to normal. You know, like, Jody even said, like, as far as regret, of course he regrets the whole situation fucking happened, right? But he never regretted his father's action. I believe, having taken a human life, his first thoughts was that Gary was going to hell, right? But he was okay with that. But, I mean, the whole thing wasn't an easy task. I mean, after a thing like that, I'm sure, like, the whole fucking thing was nuts. But, I mean, family's family, right? I mean, that's all that matters. And I'm sure Jody needed time to process all that shit. So later on, Jody said it's not right to take someone's life, but when someone's that bad a person, it doesn't bother you in the long run. Now, his mom had even stated at one time, about Doucette's death there, he's like, do you know how many kids weren't molested because he's no longer on this earth? She's probably right. How many others were there before fucking Jody, right?
Yeah, there was at least 6 that weren't because he got shot, so that's good.
Yeah. And later on, I actually found an article here that talks a little bit about Jody's work after this. Jody went on to be a 4-sport letterman in high school, and in his years, he also taught parents how to reduce the risk of pedophiles and, people from molesting their kids and stuff. He actually did this through his work at Victim Services here up in the Victim Service Center in Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Very important work.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, he even got a letter here, too. He once said here, I got a letter from a woman who wrote about, her daughter and stuff here. It said, I told my daughter, if somebody ever touches you inappropriately, it's not murder. It's worse than murder. It kills a child's soul. So, what's that girl supposed to say? If, she ever gets molested and stuff, right? She doesn't want her soul to die, so she doesn't tell anybody, right? That's fucking whatever. I mean, Jody's dad made the same mistake, Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's a terrible thing, so don't tell anyone about it. You're like, you gotta tell. You tell people.
Yeah. And Jody said here about his father here, my dad was absolutely too extreme. He used to tell people, if anybody ever touches my kid, I'll kill him. And he was right. And Jody even said, I knew he wasn't kidding. That's why I couldn't tell anybody. And that's exactly what ended up happening. Well, he said that my dad went to the airport figuring he was going to die. He either was going to take Jeff, or he was going to die that night. Now, Jody, still single. He doesn't want kids. He's like, I don't want them because of what happened. I'm not gay. I like women. And he mentioned that his cousin had lost a child at 6 years old and that he doesn't ever want to feel that kind of pain. Jody works in Baton Rouge now, but he still speaks often on child sexual abuse. He met people like Sugar Ray Leonard and shit. Kidnapping victim Elizabeth Smart. This was on a show, The Panel. And, he even spoke at, Penn State University and shit. And he remembers there was one day, maybe a year after the murder and everything, that him and his dad were walking along when they saw a man who looked strikingly like Jeff Doucette. Jody started, trembling and shit. Wow, he said to his dad. I thought that was really him. Then his dad just paused for a sec. He said plainly, I knew it wasn't. He was badass, huh?
Yeah. I saw the bullet go on that guy's head.
Now, Jody, he wrote a book here. It's actually fucking called Why, Gary? Why? Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
Yeah, that's what that cop said when Gary shot the dude.
Fuck. And like I said, like the whole country watched the footage, man. You know, it's fucking disturbing footage at the time too. I mean, rare for its time, right? It was just fucking broadcasted over and over, right?
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. Jody later in October of 2002, he attended the White House conference on missing, exploited, and runaway children up in Washington D.C. And this featured President George W. Bush and Colin Powell. Now, Jody, obviously, he shared his personal story, as well as his knowledge about working with survivors of sexual assault on numerous TV shows. Geraldo did that a couple times, 91, 93, and 96. And a couple other shows now can be told back in 91. Maury Povich, fuck him, in 1993 and 96. Oprah, back in 95. He also did the Montel Williams Show, 97, and again in 2005. And he's been interviewed by local papers, local television stations, and several radio stations and or podcasts. Currently, Jody travels throughout the country to present professional and college training sessions about sexual violence risk reduction. And even though he's come to accept what happened to him and everything, Jody still thinks of the horrific events of his youth. That's partially because the internet keeps reminding him of it. He's like, I'll post a fucking cooking video on YouTube and then, do an interview with the Advocate or something here, and then somebody will comment, "Oh, your dad's a hero." And they won't comment like, "Hey man, that gumbo looks great." They'll just be like, "Your dad's a fucking hero."
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta fucking take the good with the bad, right? Whatever.
Yeah, that is true, but it's like fuck your gumbo, bro. Your dad's a hero. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All of his achievements pale in comparison to his dad shooting that guy in the face in front of the TV cameras and never going to jail for it.
And in 1997, Gary Plauche asked the state pardon board to allow him to carry a gun again, and, Jody was with him by then. "My son got married, I have grandchildren, and might want to take them hunting like a grandfather should do. I just want to restore my life back to normal," Gary said to the board. Now, he wanted to clear the whole record here. He's going through, proper steps and everything, right? And, every day I think about all this, Gary said, right? And the board eventually denied the whole request here, stating that his sentence was too light, and they're like, "No, we're not giving you a gun." And about 5 years later, Gary explained to WBRZ News 2 why he felt compelled to take justice into his own hands. Gary just plainly said, "I shot him for the things he done to my son and a bunch of kids that I found out later. I figured I was going to get the electric chair, but I knew that he wasn't going to fool with any kids anymore." And even when he was 67 here, he got interviewed and shit. He said that he did not regret killing him and would do it again. Even townsfolk, when interviewed, told reporters, "I'd have shot him too if he'd done what they say he'd done to my boys." And then a nearby travel agent here agreed with her, like the whole fucking news crew and stuff. He's like, "He's no killer. He's a father who done it out of love for his child and for his pride." And as we wind down here, folks, Gary Plauche died at a nursing home in East Baton Rouge, where he had been living since having a stroke in 2011. He died peacefully, Jody told the news crew. He added arrangements that were still pending, and the family was taking into account, upcoming football games and stuff here and all that, that they were going to do, but, now they had to plan services. His obituary describes him as a man who saw beauty in everything. He was a loyal friend to all, he always made others laugh, and he was a hero to many, especially now. And also, for Jody, he obtained his bachelor's degree in general studies from Louisiana State University with minors in psychology, speech, communications, and philosophy. And to this day, he continues to help kids and spread awareness about the whole ordeal here. And Yeah, he did a lot of podcasts on this matter too, but he didn't do this one. We just did this one.
We didn't ask him to do this one either.
No, I asked him. I messaged him personally, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man, I said that to you, Dan.
Did he ever message you back?
Nah.
He's like, fuck it.
Twisted who? Fuck.
Twisted who? What?
That guy's not big enough. Nah. That guy sucks. But whatever. And with that, folks, I think that's a wrap on the whole case here. Thanks for listening to the Josh and Twisty Show.
Josh and Twisty Show.
Twisted Josh.
Twisted Tales Podcast.
So, what are your thoughts on the whole thing here, man?
Pretty dope. We did good. It was fun. I got to read the coolest part, which was him shooting the guy in the head, which was cool. I enjoyed that.
I fucking died when he's like, oh, I knew it wasn't that guy. Shit. Well, I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you have yourself a wonderful day, and thanks for tuning back into Twisted Tales, folks. Have a wonderful night.
Peace.
Do you like true crime, serial killers, cryptids, and everything twisted and macabre? Then tune in to the Twisted Tales podcast with host Chris Tell for chilling stories, bone-chilling interviews, and above all, some twisted entertainment. Twisted Tales, available on YouTube and any major podcasting streaming platform. Twisted Tales.